There's been a lot of discussion and one-sided monologues recently about birth rates. And I think the impetus behind that is not just the current gender wars under which we live, but also immigration and such, which are kind of stirring the pot here and making people realize that, you know what, maybe having a plus minus birth rate of 0 and glorifying abortions and bringing over tons of immigrants might not be the best thing for the country. So every now and then I'll see a post like this on Reddit or on X or whatever, where people are glorifying low birth rates. And it just sort of depends on how you contextualize it here. So this one on Reddit says, women over 40 just surpassed teen girls in birth rates for the first time in U.S. history. And the 3 pictures of these women who can't keep their clothes on. I mean, I would just, like, imagine you find pictures or videos of your mother posing in provocative clothing or whatever. Like, I know 2 of them don't really think they're doing that, but the one in the red definitely does. And in any case, like, would you really want... I don't know. I guess if you're a celebrity mother, like, there's really no way to avoid it, but, like, I think you can find clothing that covers up your stomach and breasts at least. Like, you're rich enough to afford that, aren't you? Anyway, these 3 women, according to the comments, these 3 women are all under 40 when they were pregnant. So this is, according to the comments, Rihanna, Lato, and Beyonce. I don't even recognize any of these pictures, so I wouldn't know. But I'm not sure if this is just like a troll post by the pictures or what. But the reaction's what matters, and I do have some stats here to look at. But the Redditors are glorifying this because they think teen girls are like newborn babies or something, which is... it's super weird. And first of all, there's this anti-capitalism aspect of it, but then there's a misandristic aspect of it. So all the comments like, I can't afford the cost of myself, let alone children, which is just a complete lie, anyone saying that. It'd call me crazy, but age 15 and 19 shouldn't be having babies anyway, so this is a good thing that it's declining in that age bracket. Well, okay, you're crazy. I mean, you know what Reddit tells you, and that's it. Like, a 19-year-old is a biological adult, so why is it not allowed? Why is it a bad thing? Just because? Because a Redditor says so. It might have something to do with the cost of living. Again, a lot of that. It's a comment explaining that it's Lotto and Beyonce and Rihanna, such. So this one, not a bad thing. Teenagers shouldn't be having children. Source, a nobody on Reddit said so. Most of the teen pregnancies came from older men impregnating them as well, not teenage boys. Proof of that? Anywhere? Any proof? Most of the teen pregnancies come from older men. So they're saying that teenagers shouldn't be having children, but they're also saying that it would be better if that happened and the boy was teenage. So the belief here is that teenagers are just little babies and they can't look after their own children, so they need to wait until they're older to be able to look after the children. But also that it's a bad thing if they were with an older man, even though the older man would be able to look after the baby. But it would be better if they got pregnant with a teenage boy who would also be young and incapable of taking care of the child, just like you're asserting that the teenage girl is incapable of looking at the child. And see, this is just pure misandry. The girl is an adult. She's allowed to do whatever she wants, right? But all of these comments, just, that's good, right? Wider access to birth control, that's not really it. Birth control back in the 90s still existed. People still had it. And you know, the good old pull-out has always existed. It's really more about the glorification of abortion. Only one person in this entire thread, at least these comments here, one person mentions abortion. This guy here, yes, because abortions are illegal now, which they're saying that teenagers apparently have the ability to stop themselves from having sex because they now realize that abortions are illegal, which isn't even entirely true, and certainly not true in terms of what the teenagers are doing. They don't care. They're like animals. But all of these people are just saying, good, it's good. It's a good thing that we no longer have any babies, just like this cringe X post. 52% of women aged 20 to 39 in the USA are now child-free. Yes! And they post a picture of a naked woman in the sunset in the background, breaking free from the chains of the patriarchy. And by patriarchy, they, of course, mean procreation, the continued existence of humanity on planet Earth. They are extinctionists. they and these people alike, the people who are saying that 19-year-old girls are little babies who shouldn't, they're not allowed. You're not allowed to have children because I, a Redditor, say so. I want to have no children in this country, and I want to open the borders to all of the immigrants, and that way, we're just dooming the country, aren't we? Well, here's the CDC. Now, this has three different charts here. The orange is 15 to 17, the green is 15 to 19, and the blue is 18 to 19. The one I really want to look at, like, I'm not interested in arguing that 15-year-olds should be having children, but the 18 to 19 I think is pretty indisputable, mostly because people have this weird conflation that 18 years old is when you magically become an adult, when really it has more to do when you graduate through high school and when you're allowed to post nudity on the internet. So 18 is when most idiots think you're magically an adult. And to be clear, I don't think 18-year-olds are like mentally adults either, but I also don't believe in coddling people to the point where they're irresponsible well into their 40s, and then you never have people who are capable of raising children. I mean, they could be 150 years old. If they never grow up, then they're never going to be capable of taking care of children. So, no one's ever really prepared to have a child anyway. So this 18 and 19 bracket is what I'm going to be focused on the blue line here. Back in 1991, you can see this is the rate per 1,000 births, rate per 1,000 females, sorry. They had about, I don't know what this number is, like 90, 92, 94 per 1,000. And that was in 1991. And it's gone all the way down here in 2005, which if you go down the bottom, you can see the full list. So 18 to 19 is now a 21.9 rate, down from around 92 or so is what I'm guessing it was at. That's a big change, That's less than a fourth. 94 or so now, and back in 1991 it was 21.9. I mean, that's a huge decrease. And everyone's just saying it's a good thing. We're not having babies anymore. That's not a good thing. It's not a good thing that people are not prepared to raise children. Like, you can say what you want about being able to afford it, but there's another argument to be happening there. And by the way, things are much more dangerous for mothers as they get older, and they're more dangerous for the children too, who may have more birth defects as the mother gets older. And honestly, that's the same thing that happens with men. Let's just say that as a man gets older, their soldiers are not exactly putting their best foot forward, so to speak. Genetics is really a race against time, and whilst everyone likes to say that men can wait until they're 3,000 years old to knock up a girl, the reality is that it's actually worse for the man too. And men don't want to be 70 years old with a 10-year-old daughter or something, like we do want to be able to take care of our children. So the other point of contention here is the cost of living. However, I really don't believe cost of living is as much of a deal as people make it out to be. I think people spend money way too loosely, and they're not really invested in a relationship. Like, if you properly enter a relationship and you spend frugally, like, I'm not saying that society right now is in the healthiest spot it's ever been, especially not right now, but there's a significant drop in poverty levels, even amongst minorities, the people who are supposed to be poor, according to the narrative anyway. There's a significant drop in poverty levels for two people who are living together, a wife and a husband, or, whatever makes it work. And as long as you're not wasting your money on 50 million different subscriptions and the best internet connection, and you're buying tons of pointless crap that you don't really need, like, it can work, but people they want to live like a child and then complain about how they can't have children. As you can see really clearly is how these people are treating the subject. A 19-year-old getting pregnant, that's not allowed. That's the misogynistic patriarchy trying to force them to. I mean, it's the same people who get mad about crap like this. Like, this teacher, this is an alleged story. Someone said they couldn't find a follow-up on it, so it could just be rage bait, but these people were enraged by it. This woman, an alleged teacher, dressed up as Supergirl. Now, Supergirl and all the other comic book characters were invented way before the internet, way before computers. They were all hand-drawn, and that's probably why they're all wearing skin-tight latex suits and such, right? So that's probably why she looks like that. The question is, should you wear a skin-tight suit to school as a teacher? I would say no. But all of these Redditors they're loving it. They think it's the best thing ever. They think that women should be able to dress however they want, whenever they want. I mean, Do you think that it's okay for a woman to be wearing a bikini at a beach? Everyone would say yes. Is it okay for a woman to wear a bikini on YouTube or Twitch in front of all these children? Well, the question becomes a little bit more ambiguous, but most people would still say yes. Is it okay for a woman to wear a bikini to school? Well, now everyone's going to say no. Suddenly, everyone gets a moral compass when it's at school. So why is it okay for this woman to wear a skin-tight uniform to school? Why do people not have any kind of registration in their brain that maybe that might be inappropriate? And it's the same thing as this pregnancy bit, is where it's like, it's just driven by misandry. All of these people think that these poor little baby 19-year-old girls need to be coddled forever until they're 40 years old. I mean, again, that's what the narrative is here. Women over 40 just surpassed teen girls in birth rates for the first time in U.S. history. They think that girls should be waiting until they're 40 to get pregnant, which is insane. That will just lead our country to the doom of it. But interestingly, there is a switch in the narrative that if you're only looking at crap like Reddit or Blue Sky or whatever, you're probably not going to notice this, but there has been a shift. This is a study from September 30th, 2025, that happened over the course of about a year and a half. I think it was started from May the previous year. So, yeah, May 2024 to September 2025. And this says that 53% of Americans believe that America having less children is a negative thing for the U.S., so they want more children. Now, 53% is pretty crazy. That only 53% say that we need to have more children. However, this is actually an increase. Today, 53% of men say it would have very or somewhat negative impacts on the USA, compared to 54% in 2024. So a year prior to this study, it's gone up 5%. And with women, it actually went up 6%. It went from 42% to 48%. That's a pretty big leap. 5% in men and 6% in women. And it's not just men and women, although you could say it correlates directly to Republican and Democrats, but they have a significant increase there as well. So here's a chart that shows the Republicans and the Democrats. This chart's, by the way, these are from the Pew Research Center, just to be clear. So this Republican chart goes from 60 to 63, where the Democrats goes from 37 to 44. I know it's listed as negative, but that's because they've worded the question kind of like backwards. The question is, fewer people having kids would have a negative impact. So negative is good and positive is bad. The Democrats' positive actually went down from 27 to 23. Weirdly, the Republicans went from 14 to 17. So they went up just as much with the positive as they did with the negative. But the negative is the good thing. And the Democrats went from 37 to 44. So now 44% of Democrats think that it's a bad thing for us to have less children. They want more babies. And that's what I'm getting to. All of these like doomer liberal kind of people saying that, oh, thank God we have abortions. Thank God we have like IEDs or whatever. Not IEDs, IUDs. But thank God we have these things to prevent our women from getting pregnant because they have to wait until they're 40. They're just tiny little babies up until then. And it's, the patriarchy and it's slavery and all of that crap. They're very vocal, but statistically, it would seem like both the Republicans and the Democrats want to have more babies for the sake of the country, mind you. Not a personal thing. This is specifically for the sake of America that they want it to happen because it would be a better thing. I'm just going to reread the comment again because it is worded poorly. Over half of Americans, 53%, now say that fewer people choosing to have children in the future would negatively impact the United States. This share is up 6 points since the same time last year. I don't know why they worded it that way. It's a very poor way to word it. But the other comment that the people were all complaining about, besides misandry and all of that, I guess they were saying misogyny, but from my point of view, it's misandry. The other thing was the affordability of it. Capitalism bad, that kind of crap they're always trying to do. So another chart from the Pew Research Center here. A majority of Americans say the federal government should not take steps to encourage more people to have kids. That's right. They're going to complain about how they can't afford to raise children because America bad, but they also don't want the federal government to encourage people to have kids in any shape or form. And obviously, women more than men are saying that the government should stay away from them because they think that anyone trying to get them to procreate and continue the species and continue the country is trying to oppress them and enslave them and assault them and so on and so forth. There's always some way to spin it in that kind of narrative. But we have actually a chart here, again, this is all by the Pew Research Center. We have a chart here that says, it lists 6 things and then asks the Republicans and Democrats how they feel about it. Providing more tax credits for parents. Like, that is the most reasonable, logical thing to do, to provide a way for people to have children and pay for those children. And both the Democrats and the Republicans are basically aligned perfectly on it, 81 and 82, providing more tax credits for parents. And I find it bizarre, though, because like they don't want the government to give them any kind of help to have children, but they do want to complain about how they can't afford to have children. And what is it when you see what they want out of the government? Free childcare, free paid leave, and, well, not free paid leave, but, paid leave, and then more tax credits for parents. Those are the biggest things. And then free fertility treatment is the 4th biggest thing. So they... And the Democrats are almost entirely aligned with that, and the Republicans are pretty well aligned with a couple of them. They don't want the federal government to help them raise children, but they do think, more and more of them do think, that children are necessary for the future of the country. And when they actually talk about what they want, they say they want money. They want tax credits and such. Like, what's the mentality of it? Like, these women who don't want the government to have anything to do with them getting pregnant, like, they're not going to be put in breeding farms or something. These are just incentives. They're going to be giving you incentives to get pregnant. And then the men as well, like, what is your problem? Like, you know how bad it is right now. What is your problem that you don't want this to happen? And then when it does happen, they're saying money. Money is how you help us, government. And of course it is. I mean, why? That's what they were saying to begin with. That's what they were saying in this Reddit thread about how they can't afford it. The top posts were about that. And all of the other posts are about misandry, which is a totally different problem regarding how women have been brainwashed to think that all men are evil predators or whatever. But even that, you can see from these charts, even that, the Democrats and the women are changing their minds on having children. Now, where those people happen to be from, like what color they are, or culture they are, or religion they are, I don't know, but they're Americans. That's what the Pew Research Center has for us here. We have more people wanting to have children, just not the Redditors. The Redditors are trying to tell us that 19-year-olds are little kids and they're being attacked by evil men. So I just thought it was interesting, the disparity between the forefronts of the social war between men and women, which is Reddit, and then the actual research centers looking up the statistics and polling people. And this is, again, it's the span of a year and a half, from 2024 to 2025. So this is new data, and it's a big leap. What, 5% for men, 6% for women, and then a pretty big jumps for Democrats as well, just in general, 7%, I think. That's huge. And it's a good thing. And I think we should look at that positively. And hopefully, in time, that will bleed over into the gender wars and maybe create a more pleasant atmosphere. I don't know how else to put that. Just, an atmosphere where the women don't all hate the men and the men don't all hate the women in response, I guess. But time will tell, I suppose. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please do the YouTube things.